Go, all right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. See what else coming at you. And first and foremost, man, happy Easter to all y'all out there, man. Hope y'all enjoying y'all time with y'all family and everything. So I thank y'all for taking a little time to kick it with me. And we're gonna start jumping back into football now, man. You know, the basketball journey was great. I had a great time covering basketball. Still gonna have some things here and there. It's not over by a long shot, but we're gonna still cover basketball here and there, and of course, I'm gonna still be having some things coming to you on bustingbrackets.com. So make sure y'all keep it there. But I wanted to start off my football coverage. Before we get into any questions that I have about teams coming out of the spring and everything, I wanted to kind of take a look at the position that most people are always aware of. The position that if it doesn't look right, your team doesn't look right, and that's the quarterback position. So I wanted to kind of take a look at the state of the SWAC in terms of quarterback play. Um, last season we had quite a bit of new guys. This season, same. So want to kind of look at each team as it stands to me right now in spring practice. Not saying, if there's a battle, not saying who's gonna get the job or anything like that, but just kind of, looking at some guys to be aware of, and as best as I can, um, give some information on some other guys and names to be aware of. So with that being said, man, y'all make sure y'all check out those socials: Facebook is Swag Talk, Instagram Swag Talk, Twitter Swag Talk 76. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Like the video, share it, and keep it locked with us, man. We got a lot of new things we working on, trying to continue to grow the brand and the platform. So we're gonna be having a lot more things coming your way. So y'all keep it locked. So if y'all haven't subscribed already, then please subscribe. Also, if you haven't hit that member button, become a member so you can be a part of all the new stuff that we're gonna be bringing your way in the near future. So with all that being said, man, let's go ahead and jump directly into it. Like I said, not a lot of guys coming back who have played in the SWAC last season. Um, definitely not a lot of guys who have been really productive. So that's one of the things that you're gonna have a lot of new faces on this list this season. So when you look at the SWAC did 11. When you look at the top 11 guys, you have four guys on the top 11 returning, top 11 passers, and those are guys rated 1 through 11 in passing yardage per game. So you have the first guy who is returning is the number 11 guy, and that's Xavier Langford from Alabama A&M. He had a pretty he missed some games with injury, so he also split time with Quincy Casey, who did go into the portal last season. I think this job should be his because I believe Cornelius Brown went back into the portal. If he came back, I'm not sure, but if anybody from A&M want to clear that up in the comments, feel free to do so. But last season in 8 games, Langford was 81 of 144 with 8 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He threw for 904 yards on the season. Also, he is a dual threat guy, so he had a pretty solid season on the ground. He had 56 carries for 294 yards and 6 touchdowns. So I expect him, barring anything, any setbacks or any injuries, for him to be the guy. He was a pretty solid guy when he played. He cut down his interceptions from the previous season to last season. So I think as long as he is the guy who has the reins, I think that he can get it done. So having a guy that has some starting experience for a couple years is definitely going to help this offense. This offense needs to continue to get better. This is a team who has a coach who's an offensive mind, and they need to continue to get better. And if they want to stay, if they want to stay where they are with their coach, then they're gonna need to win some games. And offense wins games, defense wins championships. But you need to win games first before you get anywhere. So hopefully they can be able to make that happen offensively behind Langford and a solid running game. And they have some pretty good receivers coming back as well. So offensively they should be solid. Having a steady guy can definitely help that. So that's A&M. Alabama State, they have the new toy on the block, the new guy who is transferring from Texas Southern to Alabama State. That's Andrew Body. He only played in one game last season. Was battling a shoulder injury from the previous season, ironically against Alabama A&M. Missed, took him a while to get going. Played in the Prairie View game, opened up the season, and he went 18 of 38 for 286 yards, 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in that game. He also ran 10 times for 64 yards before he ultimately took a medical red shirt last season. So this is a guy who can really dramatically shift the balance in this division and in the conference. Bama State won 7 games with not a lot of offense. If they can get solid offense with a new coordinator and a new weapon at quarterback, if the offense can mold and gel, then this could be the pickup of the conference. So definitely want to keep an eye out on this guy. He has the potential to be the top quarterback in the league when healthy, and being able to play on a program that is on the upswing can definitely help that. So right now, it's you want to. There's no real A1 guy coming into the season. Maybe Miles Crawley, but Andrew Body, with his track record and what he's done before, he can be up there. I think it'd be interesting to see him mold and gel with that team. So he's a guy to watch coming out of the spring and going into the fall. Anything behind him can be a bonus. So this should be the top guy in on the team, and could be a top guy in the league. So this could be a guy that changes the format of everything. But he is one of the guys that I say watch out for this season. Alcorn, Tyler Macon, he had an up and down season, especially early. He was only 2 of 13 for 31 yards at the beginning of the season. Had 2 interceptions. He ran the ball for 163 yards on 17 carries and 1 touchdown. I expect to see him take a leap from last season to this season. I think he came in with a lot of hype, and some, me included. I think we put a lot of hype on him and kind of downplay Aaron Allen, especially due to him being injured. Allen took that job and ran with it and had a great season. So if Macon can take that step and get his passing and his efficiency right with his legs, he can be definitely a dangerous factor in his offense for Coach Cedric Thomas. So I'm sure there's going to be a battle behind him. Guys are going to push, but I think that he is going to be the guy coming out. I heard a couple players say that he's one of the guys who took that leadership step. So that's always a good thing to have from your quarterback, and that can definitely kind of put you in a position of taking that job and running with it. So I expect to see him take that step and become a solid factor in this offense in the upcoming season. Next up, we have Bethune-Cookman, and this is a team that played a lot of quarterbacks last season because of injury. I think they played like 4 or 5 quarterbacks due to injury. Their main guys coming into the season were Walter Simmons III, Luke Sprague, Talik Bethel, and Cam Ransom, who transferred from McNeese, but he was not able to play last season. So I'm interested to see, if he's going to be in the mix for this. But of the guys that played last season, Simmons was probably the best guy with his legs. He ran the ball 72 times for 308 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was 64 of 127 passing for 496 yards, 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He's a guy who can run the ball, and he can make some throws. He's not the most efficient guy, but he's been at Bethune-Cookman for a couple of years now, so you kind of want to see him take another step. Maybe he can take the reins of this job and with the weapons they're bringing in, all the the transfers and the signees, this offense can potentially be better. We don't really know yet, but it's gonna start with one of these guys. Luke Sprague was a guy who was looked at as the best passer out of the group, and he went down with injury for a good stretch of the season. Came back and he went 62 and 95 for 544 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Also, Talik Bethea got some run, especially later in the season. He was 38 of 74 for 369 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So there's multiple guys who are gonna battle for this job. Um, Will these guys all still be here when the season starts? That's that remains to be seen. But this is another battle that I'm interested in seeing because I think last season all three of those guys that I named, they showed flashes. They may not have been spectacular, but they were guys who really made some things happen, and they just didn't have that consistency offensively, and that can be something that sets them apart from one of the other guys if they can kind of step up and make some things happen. But Bethune-Cookman is one of the few jobs I think that is a big battle of guys. There's only two or three other jobs like that where there's like a huge battle of guys. Some are two-man battles, but this one is a multiple guy battle, and it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. Next is FAMU. They're replacing Jeremy Musa, the Offensive Player of the Year, so that's definitely a big hole. And you can have your feelings one way or the other on Musa, but he put up some solid numbers last season. Over 2,800 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions on the season, 57% completion rate, and he helped lead a team to an undefeated SWAC record and a Celebration Bowl victory. Replacing him are two guys with different levels of experience. We'll start off with Junior Maritovic. He is a guy that's been at FAMU. I think this is his third year. He doesn't really have a lot of experience. I think he has a start or two here and there. But last season he was 10 of 27 for 117 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He has some ability. He got some run early in the 2022 season. Then he got some run last season, not a lot, but he does have some experience, but not a lot. But then you bring in Daniel Richardson, who transferred from Florida Atlantic. This is a guy who has more experience. He's a guy who's played a lot. Last season he was 208 of 318 on the season, 65% completion rate, 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. You really can, I think he probably can come in and take the job. I think they're gonna, with a new staff, I think they're gonna try to really build up the battle. But I look at this guy being able to step in and probably take the job. I'm not necessarily saying that because he's an FBS transfer. He's not the biggest guy. He's 5'10", 205. He kind of, like I said, he took over. After injury to quarterback at one point, and so he had some pretty solid games against Illinois. He threw for 256 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had a 382-yard game against South Florida, and 3 touchdowns in that game. He threw for 218 and 3 touchdowns against Charlotte, 293 and 3 touchdowns against UAB. So he has some pretty solid games. He shows an ability to make that happen. Not a guy that's gonna kill you with his legs. Didn't really run for much. He had minus 62 yards rushing, but that's mainly sack yardage. So he's a guy who can sling the ball around. 65% completion rate is definitely a great, efficient quarterback. So would almost put money on him being the guy to take the job. But I think, with Maritovic being at FAMU for a couple years, I think that helps now, new coaching staff. So he doesn't, he's going to be learning some new things as well. So I think that's what makes the job even more open to debate. So that's a battle that I'm looking forward to seeing because, obviously FAMU defending SWAC champs. So you always want to see what that team does when they come back. Are they going to be able to repeat or are they going to have to kind of feel their way around? So this is a very interesting battle that can have some ramifications on a lot of teams because if FAMU puts it together with that quarterback, whoever it is, then that's going to help them propel forward again to another SWAC championship possibly. But, if it takes some time for that position to gel, then that can open the door for somebody else like Jackson State or Bama State to take over in the East. So, that makes this very interesting, and that's one of the reasons why this job is an interesting battle, especially with the loss of Willie Simmons at coach. I think if he returned, it may make a little bit of a difference because you know how he calls plays and how he wants his offense run. So with that being the way it is, we still have some question marks there. Grambling returns Miles Crawley at quarterback. He was 198 of 329 on the season, 60% completion rate, second in the league at 210 yards per game passing, threw for 2,313 yards in the season, 16 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. I think when that offense was clicking, he didn't have to do a lot because they had a great running game, but he made a lot of big throws. Once he started turning the ball over a little bit, the offense kind of fell off a little. So this season, another new coaching staff. Coach Eric Dooley is the offensive coordinator, so we know what kind of offense he likes to run. This could be a good fit. Dooley likes to throw the ball around. He likes to throw deep. He's not really going to dink and dunk you. I think Crawley can get that done for them. The running game is going to be another issue to see how they do losing their top backs. So we'll see how they do there. But returning a guy who was the number 2 quarterback in the league, which probably makes him the number 1 guy this season coming back in terms of production. That helps a lot. I think that solves a lot of problems that plague new coaching staffs. So you don't have to really try to find that guy right now and get him right. So I think that's a big feather in their cap, and I think that helps them a lot, and that makes this one of the easier positions to look at. Next is Jackson State. They have Jacobian Morgan, who took over in midseason. And had a really great season in his limited action. And he is going to be the guy I think that Coach Taylor hitches himself to. Last season, he was 83 of 123 for 847 yards, 10 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. And he can run the ball. He has 6 touchdowns on the season, rushing 118 yards on 52 carries. I think that he came in kind of banged up. I think, this season, knowing that this job is his, potentially, I think that can help propel him even more. So, with him, Irv Mulligan coming back at running back, and Fabian McCray at receiver, I think this offense has the potential if they can open it up a little bit and kind of, take advantage of the weapons that they have. I think this offense can be solid, and that's a big step. Again, returning a guy who has experience playing for you. I think that helps tremendously. It's going to help guys, get acclimated. It saves time in the spring, and you don't have to spend your spring trying to figure out, what guys can do and what they can't do. So you can kind of move forward and start to get that offense clicking early. So I think Morgan is going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and he has a really great potential to make some things happen. Valley, they return their top quarterback on the season, Tajarian Williams, who played in 10 games last season as a freshman, finished the season 10th in the league in passing, 119 yards per game, 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. 1,197 yards, 123 of 199. I expect him to be the guy again. He's another big body guy. Another year in this offense, another year playing can help him get better. I expect to see him take more steps. He's going to improve from last year to this year. And being and coming into the spring knowing that this should be him, I think that's going to help him a lot. And so I think not necessarily having a battle, although they do have a guy, Jaden Sisk behind him, who played a little bit. Um, I think that may push him a little bit more. But I like Williams. I think he had a really solid stretch during the season, kind of tailed off, which happens to young guys. But I thought he was a pretty solid guy, and he can only get better if they can continue to develop guys around him. Next up is probably one of the most unknown battles that I know of, and that's Prairie View. They brought in 3 quarterbacks in the signing period, including Cam Peters, who played at Kilgore College last season. He was 112 or 210 passing on the season, 2,140 yards, had 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's a guy who can make some things happen. And so I think he's going to be one of those guys that people want to see take this job. There's not a lot of experience at PV right now in terms of returning production. So, he can kind of come in and put himself in a good position. Jaden Johnson is another quarterback who's there. He's he's a redshirt junior. And you kind of want to see him maybe take a step. This is a team who is the defending West champs, so they've shown that they can get it done. Are they going to be able to continue to put themselves in that position? That remains to be seen. But you're gonna not want to have to spend a lot of time on this battle. You would like to have somebody take the reins, but I think with so many new guys coming in, that you're gonna have a battle that is probably gonna last a while. If you can get it nailed down before the start of the season, then I think you can find yourself in a good spot. Like I say, I don't like battles that drag beyond the fall camp. Maybe with schedules being the way they are sometimes, maybe after a week or two. But with a team like Prairie View who plays a rival conference game in week 1, you don't have the option of waiting a couple weeks. So you're gonna want to try to get this nailed down and move forward. You have a new coordinator on offense, so everybody's kind of at square one. So that makes the battle a little bit even, and we'll see how that one turns out. Another position that is a battle, and it's primarily because the one returning guy who's played doesn't have a lot of in-game experience, even though he's been in college a while, and that's Southern. Noah Biden is the only guy on the roster right now that has in-game experience. He was 21 of 41 on the season, 376 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Did have 1 start in the Bayou Classic. Started 4 games at Grambling, so he has 5 starts over his career. Has limited time limited time off the bench in reserve situations. So you still don't really fully know what you're getting from him. That makes things a little bit more interesting for your offense. You have 2 guys who are redshirt freshmen. Both are very talented. You have Xavier T-Set and Jalen Woods. Both of those guys have they have some talent. They both have people who feel like they should take the job. So we'll see. We'll see how Biden handles being the main guy through the spring. Can he withhold? What can he hold off the younger guys? And can they push for that position? And if Biden doesn't take the reins after the spring, then that opens the door up a lot for the younger guys, which I don't know if that's a great thing. Um, when you have a guy who's been in college a long time and can't beat out younger guys. Not to say that younger guys don't have talent, but sometimes I think just being in systems helps. But this is a new offense under Coach Frederick at Southern, so that makes things a little bit more even. With a new system, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of advantages for a guy that's been there a long time. So we'll see how that battle turns out. Next is Texas Southern. After losing Andrew Body, Jace Wilson stepped in and became and ended up being a SWAC newcomer of the year. He finished the season with 144 completions, 252 attempts, 1,633 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That put him at eighth in the league. So he's the number 8 quarterback in the league in passing yards per game, and that was 163 yards per game. And then he also ran the ball for 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 78 carries. He's being pushed by Jordan Davis, who is a young guy, not the biggest guy, only 5'8", 183. I've been hearing that he's pushing Wilson a little bit. New coach again, Coach Dishman. He brings in a new offense, so that opens a lot of doors for a lot of guys, but I still think Wilson's going to come out on top because, he has the actual on field experience. He started 10 out of 11 games. So I think that you can't turn your back on that. Neither quarterback is the tallest guy in the world. Like I said, Wilson's 5'11", so either way, you're gonna have to do some things with them to get them out of the pocket. And I think Wilson showing that probably like mid-season on, he started to get a better grasp of what was going on and started to put together some better games. Losing Ladarius Owens and Ja'Cory Howard is definitely gonna hurt. So you're gonna want to lean on some running backs, and hopefully the quarterback doesn't have to do a lot. But I think Wilson's gonna come out with the job after the spring. And finally, UAPB, they lose 2 out of their 3 quarterbacks, which they played like 3 or 4 quarterbacks during the season. Injury, effectiveness. Mekhi Higgins is the guy that's the last man standing, basically. And he had a pretty decent start to his season. Numerically, wasn't great, but he seemed like he was, able to do some things. Had a really great second half game against Texas Southern where he ran the ball for, a couple touchdowns, including a game winner, as he led their team back from a big deficit. He finished the season 58 of 117, 552 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He was 64 carries, 191 yards, and 4 touchdowns on the ground. So he can help this offense with his legs and his arm. He is gonna have to continue to mature and develop. He had some really bad plays as a young quarterback. Making some throws that he probably shouldn't have made. Trying to make some things happen. That's something that he's gonna have to work on. And I think being the guy going into the spring and maybe coming out of the spring, I think that could help him springboard forward heading into the fall. So, like I said, there's not a lot of high production returning. There are some guys who have played, but then some teams have guys who have very little production and in-game experience. So it's going to be an interesting year. Like I said, SWAC quarterback play wasn't great last season, and I think that kind of held the league back a little bit in terms of, how it was perceived. There's still some talent here, but, you're going to have to see how these guys put some things together and how the coaches help them get better. So with that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawell signing out again. Y'all enjoy y'all Easter, and thank y'all for tuning in and rocking with me on this holiday. And we'll be back next week with another edition of SWAC Talk. I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.